Hello, everyone, and welcome to African Conservation Podcast. Today with us is Clever Zulu from Chem Association. Hello, Clever. How are you today?
I'm very well. Hello. I'm doing great. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Could you explain briefly how you came up to work for Chem in Tanzania?
Thank you. My background is in hospitality management. So I did the pre-operating post-COVID, and I stayed within the hospitality sector, managing the Chem lodges. And then gradually I transitioned into the association. For the last 3 years, I've been working as the head of the association,
Okay.
which has become not just a job, but a calling for me because couldn't be better. That's the best thing that has ever happened, and that's probably the best decision I've ever made in my life to move to the foundation.
Was Chem always involved in conservation, or is it something that happened in recent years?
No, Chem has always been
Okay.
involved with foundation. When Nicholas and Fabia created the safari, immediately they created the not-for-profit sector, which is Chem Association. Why tourism and in conservation go hand in hand. One is the
Yeah.
body, one is the oxygen.
Clearly. And so to explain to our listeners, how would you explain the way that Chem is working? Where is it situated? What are the challenges? Like, yeah, a bit of like an overview of Chem Association.
So Chem Association started in 2008, and the whole purpose was to rehabilitate the Kwakuchinja Wildlife Corridor,
Mm,
a very, very strategic corridor connecting or linking two important national parks, Tarangire National Park and Lake Manyara National Park. So in between, there's a wildlife corridor here. And that corridor was almost wiped out, or it was
mm.
almost extinct around 2008, 2009. Chawiri released a report that says the corridor was about to be decimated. And then this is when Nicholas and Fabia moved in. And the work of Chem solely has been to rehabilitate this corridor. Fast forward, today the corridor is fully rehabilitated, bustling with wildlife. Our indicators show an abundance of wide distribution of wildlife species that traverse through this corridor.
So communities do share the corridor with animals, right? Is a place
Yes,
where they
indeed.
cohabit.
Indeed, we have 10 villages adjacent to the corridor
Okay.
and with a population of around 50,000 people.
Whoa. Okay. Does it bring, I guess it does bring, its usual lot of human wildlife conflict or predation. Um, do you have like boots on the ground, or is it like local scouts who let you know when there's trouble?
Yes, indeed, we have a lot of human wildlife conflict, crop rate, number one, and predation, number two.
Mm,
And then obviously the third concern is also road kills because there is the trade route, the African trade route that passes through the corridor from Cape to Egypt, but from us within Tanzania, it's Arusha, Dodoma.
yeah.
So on a daily basis, we're losing at least 4 species. To answer the question,
Yeah.
indeed, we have boots on the ground. And the spirit of Chem is collaboration.
Yeah.
From inception, we don't work alone. We have collaborated successfully with the government. For the government is TAWA, Tanzania Wildlife Management Authority. We have them in our anti-poaching operations. We have the Babati district from the district game officer's office. We have his team. We work with them every day. And then we are operating in a place called Burunge Wildlife Management Authority. This is the branch that manages the corridor, the land on behalf of the villages. So each village contributed a portion of their land for the government to be able to form the WMA. So we work with Burunge WMA village game scouts. So, and then Chem, we have our own boots on the ground. Chem is mandated to just protect our 200 square kilometers, which we directly manage. And then Burunge WMA, outside of that jurisdiction, you need to have WMA who are mandated to protect the 283 square kilometers. Then outside of the Burunge WMA, we have Babati District who are mandated to protect 6,000 square kilometers. And then outside of that 6,000 square kilometers, we have Tawa now, who are mandated to protect the whole country. So by jurisdiction now, we have it all covered.
Yeah, it's
The
impressive.
joint patrol now is moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are
Yeah.
the communities reacting well, on like people trying to mitigate or bring solutions so they can plant their crops or move the cattle around freely and safely? How is the communication working? Is it smooth?
Yeah, there's always challenges with human-wildlife conflict. And I believe people trust is earned over time.
Yeah.
It's not something we get. And always people will protect what they benefit from. And then over the years, Chem has demonstrated the fact that when people see the benefits flow into their households, into their villages, they start responding positively. So we are beginning to see that here in the Kwakuchinja Wildlife Corridor. We're beginning to see a response that is positive. We still get issues because Manyara region houses quite a lot of livestock.
Yeah. And the livestock to the Maasai is their main income, and like it's like a bank account on legs, walking around. And of course, if a lion attacks at night and kills a few, it's a terrible news for the whole family. And do you guys, like, does Chem or the government compensate in any way when there's loss of cattle?
Yeah, so the government of Tanzania has a mechanism they created way back. It's not really compensation in terms of value, but it's called consolation. So when there's a loss, the government will chip in with that compensation or consolation price. And now with enterprises like Chem, we are working very closely with the government, with an MOU with the government. The infrastructure we have built at the Joint Monitoring and Protection Center, and we've built an operating system, which really work very well with the government. They were also building something called PICE, Problem Animals Information System. That's the system the government uses now electronically to make sure what the payment that would reach people 3 years down the road has now been mitigated to 1 week.
Whoa.
So through these systems that we also facilitated together with what we built here called TAI, it's for anti-poaching operations, data collections. They capture these incidents. It immediately goes to the DGO's office, approvals, all the way to the Ministry of Finance. And in 1 week, the person is compensated. So we've done a lot of mitigations through these systems, and supporting the government also build their systems.
It's very impressive. All this work and manpower, I'm sure it requires a lot of funding. Does it come through Chem? Do you have also maybe outside sponsors or the government tower? How do you finance all this conservation work?
Yeah, we are building an interesting model actually.
Mhm.
So the model we are building now, we have carefully embedded ourselves or aligned ourselves with government planning cycles. So our work here evolves around government planning cycles for oversight, for vision. We have an MOU with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism that guides these operations and activities. So now, meaning that we are pioneering something important for Tanzania and for Africa. So we have trust and political will from the government of Tanzania to be able to do this. Yes, we carry our main role is facilitate the government and enable the government forces to do what they should be doing according to their government vision, agenda, planning cycles. So we are just enabling and financing and backstopping where we need to. So we go out and look for the money and then finance these activities that I've just been describing.
Yeah.
Anti-poaching, joint patrols. We carry the burden of financing, but the government meets us and give us that space to do all this because we have the trust and the political will, and the government is behind what we are doing, like we are championing good public-private sector engagement. So that's exactly the exciting part that we have.
And if you were to explain the anti-poaching work, is it people that are hired from the area? There are dogs brought in from Arusha or from overseas. How does it work? Like, how do you train? How do you form, a group of anti-poaching rangers at Chem?
Yeah, mostly we have an arrangement. We have these 10 villages. First of all, actually, before we go to anti-poaching,
Yeah.
because we have 3 lodges within the concession.
Mm.
So the 3 lodges, we have an arrangement with the villages. The labor comes directly from the villages. 60% of that labor comes from the villages, both anti-poaching and about village game scouts.
Yeah.
So all these WMA and Chem, they are called village game scouts. And then rangers, we find them at the district level and the tower levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
When
So
you're
the villages are
yeah.
greatly benefiting.
Yes, of course, they're benefiting. They get jobs and they get safety for the cattle, for their fields. Because I don't like if you were to explain around the national parks where it's not allowed to have cattle or crops, is there around Tarangire and between Manyara in this area, is there a lot of crops as well? And you said cattle already, but there's also a lot of crops that can be raided at night?
The people here are pastoralists and the agriculture.
Okay.
So there is a lot of farms, villages, everybody village depends on the land.
Mm.
And then there's a lot of crops, elephants. The more good conservation practice we have, it means the protection we are giving the animals are multiplying rapidly.
Yeah.
Their populations are increasing, and we have a lot of elephants here. So we can imagine how many crop raid cases that we are having. Yeah, in some areas elsewhere, it's worse.
Yeah. And do you use deterring solutions, like chili pepper bombs or honeybees, anything like this that the villagers can use?
Yes, we've trained the villages, our rangers. Each vehicle has a human wildlife conflict mitigation kit,
Oh.
and chili bombs, pili pili in Swahili, horns with pressure horns.
Yes.
And we have all these mechanisms, but you know what? All those can mitigate to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And these creatures are super intelligent and they know how to go about it. Recently, we just filmed one of our films here. It's called Guardians of the Corridor.
Yeah.
Chem. And during the filming period, we discovered something interesting. 10 o'clock at night, we noticed elephants moving in from the park into the villages. Right? That's how clever they are. Human wildlife conflicts remain a big topic here, it's at a very, very unprecedented levels right now. And it's a national headache. Yeah. So to mitigate that, what we have at Chem, we've built the Joint Monitoring and Protection Center. So we are marrying IT or technology into conservation. We have built an operating system called TIE. It works pretty much the same as Earth Ranger, but it's got advanced features in terms of fleet management as well.
Mm.
So what we are doing, we want to use technology to help mitigate human-wildlife conflict early enough before it happens.
Yeah.
Mostly over the years, we've been reactive, responding to incidents. But now we are driving into using technology into an era whereby we mitigate incidents before they happen. And this is the journey that we have embarked on between all the joint operating forces, as well as with the backup of the Tanzanian government through the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism. So what do I mean by that? With researchers like Tawiri, we are going to look into collaring few species that will indicate, once we color them, the operating system will detect their movement and then send alarms to the operating teams, boots on the ground, and then redirect wildlife into the corridor or push them back into the park.
When you say push them back, do you mean with drones or on foot? How does it happen?
On foot, our rangers are well trained now. This between Tawa, Tanapa,
Yeah.
WMA district, there's trained personnel on how to work with wildlife. The citizens, we prepare them, we not give them knowledge and cushion them in the event while they are plowing, they are working in their field, how to respond when an animal comes. This is what things like chili bombs, pressure horns work. But sometimes the elephants, when they are stressed and hungry and thirsty, they are a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah,
so it needs qualified and trained personnel. This is where our boots on the ground comes in. They can handle an elephant when it charges. They know the false charge. They know how its characteristics. So they are trained in that. So now, with early warning systems that we are building and we have established, we are warned ahead of time before the herd enters the protected zones.
It's impressive. And you said Tawiri, like the researchers are helping as well. They're studying several species, you said, like elephants, lions, what else?
Yeah, like for example, Tawiri as a researcher, we don't just color wildlife. We get approval from our government through Tawiri. But in coloring, you don't color the whole herd. Tawiri will do a little bit of research. Look at who is the leader in that herd. If you color the leader, you've colored the whole herd. So that's where research comes in. Then there's coloring based on research, like lions, where we are here at Chem here, where we are based right now, where I'm calling you from. This is a prime lion habitat.
Yeah.
And we are surrounded by many villages around. And no matter what you do here in this ecosystem, lions are bound to be here. In the last 18 years, since Chem existed, we've translocated 9 times. And before we used to make a mistake, translocate them back into Tarangire National Park. 2 days later, they are back into the corridor.
Yeah, of course.
So now with Tawiri, we are in Tawa, we are looking at now translocating them to further out places where there's a need for lion populations. So now we are training the villages again on how to respond when they see lions or when they hear lions.
Yeah.
Because it's a prime lion habitat. No matter what you do, they will always be here. We just now need to work with Tawiri, collar the leader of the pride, and then we monitor their movements, keep the public informed, and also help our staff movements here. And they don't mean harm. We don't have any incidents with human beings. They're just patrolling the territory, stays here, lots of game around here. So the ecosystem is alive. It's happening. They kill one another. The lions, they like the zebras, they like the wildebeest. All that is at play. It's happening. The ecosystem is alive.
It's beautiful. And when you do have like, what is the connection between, let's say, a tourist that goes at Chem Chem and the conservation work that you guys are doing, do all the guests get a preview on even like a deeper perspective of your work? How does it work? How do they contribute to your guests?
Yeah, you recognize it. And I opened, I said, tourism is oxygen to conservation.
Yeah, it is.
Without tourism, all what we are doing will collapse in few minutes.
Mm.
So to answer the question, yes, not every guest, but some of them, they admire the project, and then we give them a very deep briefing, presentations, overview of how the project has evolved from a corridor once declared almost extinct to a corridor that is vibrant with wildlife right now. So I personally do that. I
Okay.
take them through the journey and then also show them now that even where we are, the job is not complete, it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Because right now, more than ever, after rehabilitating a corridor, after educating the communities, after economically empowering them, after them realizing the benefits of conservation, now what's next? We need to build systems,
Yeah.
scale up this project, scale up all this, build a system that can scale up and sustain this project for the future.
Yeah, clearly. And like you said, the what you said was very important to me. Like it's not only about reacting when there's a problem, it's also preparing in case there's a problem. Like seeing before it happens and finding solutions so that communities and wildlife can cohabitate peacefully, with as little conflict as possible. And of course, it would not be possible without the government, without the tourism, and of course, communities. It's conservation is a long task. It's going to take years to be perfect, hopefully. But it's not something that is dark. There's always hope. If tourism industry, conservation, communities, research, government entities, and even like a broader audience, like if people know of the work that you guys are doing and that everyone is doing, like Honey Guide or PAMS, or there's so many copy line, all the work that you guys are doing on the ground is benefiting everything and everyone, so that our grandkids can see this. The grandkids in the villages can still be there and herd the cattle and plant their fields, hopefully in a safer environment, and it doesn't, we hope it doesn't change too much, because the pressure of tourism, not at Chem Chem, but like if you look at the park, for example, Tarangire, the pressure of lodges and camps is huge. And the wildlife, of course, is looking for other places to roam more quietly. Huh? It is quiet in Chem Chem compared to, let's say, northern Tarangire.
The future actually of conservation in Africa is not more of conservation projects or
Mm.
tourism projects. Now, with what we have, we need to build better systems.
Yeah, clearly.
We need to build better systems. If you look at all, whether it's a human-wildlife conflict, whether it's a national park, it's mostly a systems issues. We're dealing with systems issues.
Yeah.
And the future for Africa now is to start building systems for conservation in Africa. I see that as the next step.
Yeah, it is.
Also, also look at communities, communities that are living adjacent to these wildlife spaces. The people can only protect what they
Yeah, of course.
from. That's it.
Exactly.
And the systems will determine the outcome. Is law. Now, this brings us to land planning discussions. Land use But the key area here is data. So our systems bring data, and then with that data, with researchers, we make informed decisions. Tourism, if it is not regenerative,
Yeah.
it will not work.
Mm.
Tourism has to be regenerative. And then now, view these communities around, not as beneficiaries to avoid dependency, but create partnerships with these communities so that they are in the forefront, so that they are guardians of these wildlife spaces, so that they can coexist. And this is the journey that Chem has been doing over the last 18 years, whereby now we are not 100% there, but we see the signs of coexistence. We see the signs of communities leading in human wildlife mitigation. For example, offenders, when our rangers, maybe the rangers, the joint operations, before they take somebody to court or any to police, the villages mitigate that. They are now leading in creating solutions. The village governments are playing a part. Okay, this one we handle this. So we see more and more villages rising up to protect what is naturally theirs to protect.
Yeah. Clearly it's pole. It's going to work.
Pole is
Coexistence
like,
is the goal.
yes.
Without coexistence, there's no hope and no point in doing any of this. The wildlife, like you said, lions are around Chem. They'll be there forever. They've been here since we don't know when, long time ago. And people have got to get used to this and find solution to coexist without harming one another. And the work the guys are doing in Chem Association is incredible. I invite everyone to go and visit you guys and talk to you guys. I think I think tourism, let's say any tourist that goes to Tanzania or anywhere in Africa or in the world actually, should be made aware, like you guys are doing, of the conservation work. Because you cannot go on a safari, fly back home and say, I've seen lions and elephants, it was beautiful. This is not possible. I want them to go back home and say, we've seen this and that. We've talked to this guy, this girl. They told me what they were doing. They told me the challenges the villages were having. They told me how the government is helping. They told me about poaching, road kills, crop raiding, and solutions that go along. I think conservation should be inclusive, in every tourism product out there. I don't think anyone should be kind of allowed, to sell a safari and not mention the work that has been done on the ground by so many people, so many. So thank you again. Huh?
I agree.
It's impressive.
I agree completely. Actually, it's global.
Mm.
Global support, maybe African leadership in terms of engagement, global support, leadership, partnerships with the communities, build systems that work and that are replicable elsewhere throughout Tanzania, throughout
Yeah,
Africa. And then tourism should be regenerative. Leaving it better than we found it is the key.
yeah, clearly.
Is the key.
Clearly, and there should not be any competition in conservation. Everyone should be hands in hands trying to mitigate conflict or find solutions where they are, if they are next to each other, if they're all the way across Africa from each other. So many NGOs and people and communities have the same issues on a daily basis. So why be blindsided by, I don't know, funding issues? Let's say, of course, sponsors, you need them, but maybe this guy in Zambia has the same issue that you have in Kenya, and you should talk to each other and find solutions. And hopefully, this bridge is going to build slowly, and conservation will become like a global thing that everyone knows about. And yeah, collaboration in conservation is also very important to me. You think so?
That's why we see the Kwakuchinja Wildlife Corridor as an African microcosm.
No.
All the pressures and challenges we are facing here in Africa are represented right here. That's the only place that can allow you to discuss tourism, conservation, human wildlife conflict in one setting. All that is here. And we are saying if we get it right here at Kwakuchinja, we have a blueprint for Tanzania. All 61 corridors, similar pressures from climate change, population growth, human wildlife conflict, road kills, all here. So if we get it right here, we have a blueprint for Tanzania. If Tanzania has a blueprint for its 61 corridors, we have a blueprint that can help somehow Africa as well.
Yeah.
And we don't see it as just a small corridor. It is very symbolic and it has enormous economic value. And it's one of the models that we can use to mitigate Africa's fragmented approaches and solutions.
Yeah.
That's our next biggest threat to conservation, is fragmented solutions, fragmented approaches. When there's systems in place, it's easy to align.
Clearly conservation needs to be global. If someone has a blueprint that works, try and set it up everywhere so it works for everyone. It was very interesting talking to you today, Clever. Thank you very, very much. I wish you a very good day.
Asante sana. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Karibu, bye.